it's so natural to become an entrepreneur, right? And with the skill sets and being able to multitask them and just figure out how to do it and not give up. And the if you looked at what it takes to be a good entrepreneur, it's agility. I remember my mother sitting with me when I was young and telling me very quickly I was a Black woman. And if they ask me for 4, you give them 10. You give it to them in a way they can't even question your ability and worth. As great as that advice could be, it does create problems when you're constantly setting these, unsustainable ambitions and targets on yourself. I want to change the disparity of this wealth gap. I want a Black female founded business to ring the bell, on the stock exchange and be publicly traded. I want the minute one business is struggling, we all can step in and figure out how to change it. I'm going to sound like a broken record because I've been saying this over and over again, but it's honestly, I want to drive this home. You are your first investor.
Right.
And I think ultimately, when I hear people want to better understand their business and vet it and build it and have the plan and all that, is when they're trying to get investment. But you are the first person to scrutinize your business.
Hi, Black Circle family. Welcome back to another episode. Today, I'm joined by Jo Wong. She is the founder of Let's Grow BFF, which is Black female founders. Jo's not just building business; she's also building legacy. Jo, welcome.
Thank you. I'm so happy to be here.
I'm happy to have you here.
Yeah.
Jo, I always like to kind of start with the roots and kind of like where everything began, as like every good story does. So kind of how would you describe yourself and Let's Grow BFF, and not just what you do but what you stand for?
Right. I like to describe myself as a catalyst. I think meeting people and learning about organizations, from the time I worked for many different organizations to now working specifically with Black female entrepreneurs, I just want to support them in their vision, right? I think sometimes when you're by yourself and you're looking at something over and over again, you can't necessarily put all the pieces together. So where I come in is just the catalyst of igniting that change and allowing you to see a bigger vision and picture. I think it's been very natural for my personality throughout my life. When I meet somebody, I could just meet you in passing or have a coffee with you, and I'll be immediately inspired by your story and already give feedback or suggestions or have you thought about this? And I would love for you to meet this person. But yeah, the connector, the catalyst, the conduit, just supporting people, essentially.
And kind of before we go into and delve into a bit more about BFF and its mission, let's talk about your story. So obviously you have an accent.
I do. This is being filmed in London. It's not in the US.
No. So yeah, you've spoken on your platforms about being neurodivergent, Black, a mother, an expat, as we said with your accent. So how's those identities shape the way you show up in leadership and entrepreneurship?
I think it helps me understand that everyone is so multi-layered, and I never take a book as it is. Like I never just read a book as its cover. When I meet somebody, immediately I want to pull back the layers. I want to learn more about you. I think, unfortunately, and specifically with Black female founders, they're, typecasted or put into a certain category on how they run their business or how they act or, things they do day to day. And for me, when people meet me at first, there are assumptions. And for that reason, I understand that a lot of people are misunderstood. And though people might have assumptions about somebody, I think it's important about taking the time to get to know somebody. So when I work with businesses, when I work with entrepreneurs, when I have partnerships, the first thing I want to do is spend time with you. I want to get to know you. I want to hear your story. I want to understand your strengths, your interests, your hobbies, your inspirations. And I think a lot of times that wasn't done for me. And a lot of people did misunderstand me. And a lot of it was due to if it was my neurodivergency in terms of how I interacted with people or if I was able to be present with people. And then, moving here culturally, I am different, right? I'm American, Caribbean American. I was born in Trinidad. And culturally understanding when somebody says something here, there's more context to it, or if they say, let's do something, maybe they don't always mean let's do something. So just understanding that. So I think what it does is it makes me more open-minded. It gives me more compassion and grace for somebody. If I rub off wrong with somebody, I don't always assume that it's for that reason. I think, there might be something more to that. And I definitely think it's a skill set and an asset to be so multi-layered. And I mean, essentially, becoming a mother just gives you a level of patience and understanding and a sense of lack of control, uh, and empathy that I'd never had before. So all those different parts of me bring different strengths, I would say.
It's those cultural nuances, isn't it? And just understanding those. And like you mentioned, you came over from America. So what was that journey that brought you here to the UK? And I know you had like a very strong sales background as well. So a bit of those two.
Yeah, it was an opportunity to essentially do like a 3-year assignment here with Estee Lauder companies. And at the time, I had, no ties. I didn't have children. I didn't have a significant other. I knew I wanted to continue to grow and excel in my career. At that point, I had been managing at some parts of, at first, the Latin America and the Caribbean for almost 9 years. And I felt like I got like typecasted as like the girl that manages the Caribbean. And it was a different market, a different opportunity. I could prove myself. And it was also to prove to myself I could do it and move to an entirely new country and culture by myself and just wing it. And I ultimately just told myself, if it doesn't work, to just go back home. And I'm here 6 years later. So I think it worked out.
It worked out. It definitely worked out.
But it was, it was a leap of faith. And when I meet young entrepreneurs or people, professionals or anyone in their life, and they're in I guess you would say a crossroads, ultimately it's why not? The worst that can happen is just go back. Try it.
Exactly.
So just step out in faith.
It's that safety net, which is a sensible approach to plans.
Absolutely. I think what I learned, and this can be from my experience, is I grow the most outside of my comfort zone. So staying in my comfort zone is great, and it probably is a little bit of the ADHD in me, which makes me impulsive. But when I do go into uncomfortable situations, I challenge myself and I grow so much. So I think I'm almost like addicted to it, where I'm just like, oh, this looks scary. Let me try it.
I like that approach to it. And as the old saying goes, nothing grows in the comfort zone.
Right.
Yes, exactly. I want to kind of dig into some of the systems, the struggles and the systems that are in place, and kind of how you are addressing those. So what would you say are the most consistent barriers for Black female founders in the UK right now?
Specifically in the UK, I think a simple, quick answer would be funding and investment and cash.
Yeah.
Right? It's a little bit more complicated because in order to get to a place of funding, investment, cash, you need your business to be in a certain place, and you need to have a better understanding and a confidence in the business to identify what you need, to identify the resources you need. I would almost group it in a total category as resources. Resources can be funding, money, people, connections, resources, network. It's resources, and it's being built in environments that resources are available to you, that are accessible to you, and that are welcoming to you. So immediately when I interviewed the founders to build my content, my modules, my programs, I identified immediately resources was a challenge.
Resources, and that funding, and I've had people, guests come in previously, and it's just like we're such a small minority that the funding gets kind of filtered down into such a small amount that's attributed to us. So what would you advise anyone that's listening in terms of like tapping into that funding?
I think before you can tap into funding, I know immediately you need it.
Yeah.
But what do you need it for? And what what within your current ecosystem can you maximize value? The first question I ask when I do business health audits is, with your current resources, do you feel like you're maximizing your value? It can be the booking tool you use. Do you use it to its fullest capacity? It can be the resources you have in personnel. Are you using them to their fullest capacity? Are you booking them in days where you have the highest revenue? Are you selling the majority of products that you get the biggest margin and return on? So there's almost this pre-work that needs to happen, because then you can come confidently and say, well, actually, after my analysis of the business, here's what I can do with 10K, 50K, 1 million. And here's how I can bring the biggest return. Because you want to do it in a way where you're not continuously going back for funding. You're starting to work towards self-sustaining your growth. So I think it's that front work of understanding, this is how much I need, and I'm willing to do debt funding because I know I can turn it around, or I feel more comfortable with grant funding and this is how much I can do with it. So it's essentially understanding why you need the funding resources and how it will be put to use.
No, that's actually really good advice. And so we're constantly being called the fastest growing group of entrepreneurs as Black women. But what's the reality behind that stat?
I think there's way more to it, right? It's what you're seeing in the US right now. 319,000 in 3 months jobs have been lost for Black women. So essentially, are you quick to go back into the workforce, or are you going to say, I got to grind. I need to do what I need to do. I need to make something happen. So where you see other demographics and groups going into it from a place of not necessity, but from a sense of inspiration, from a sense of being gifted a chunk of money from an uncle or whatever the case is, you're seeing this demographic coming in from just sheer necessity and urgency, and understanding from a mental well-being, from a from a legacy, this is what I need to do, and I need to figure out how to do it. Because something I've observed with myself, I'm sure you could speak to this, is when we work somewhere, we don't just work there.
Right.
We are built to be entrepreneurs. I don't know how to describe it, but we become entrepreneurs.
Yes.
We work somewhere and we own it like it's ours. We take it so seriously. We have such a level of investment in it. We almost have to tell ourselves, this is not our business.
Right.
Right? When you're there and everyone's left the office and it's 9:00 at night, you have to be like, this is not my business. Why am I still here? It's just a natural, innate behavior in us.
Yeah.
So it's so natural to become an entrepreneur, right? And with the skill sets and being able to multitask them and just figure out how to do it and not give up. And if you looked at what it takes to be a good entrepreneur, it's agility. It's having a sense of not giving up and pushing through. Resilience is the word I am trying to find, but it's resilience, right?
Yeah.
And I think we've had to do that without saying. So when it comes to business, it's kind of like, yeah, I'm gonna do it.
Yeah,
I'm gonna make it happen.
That's a really good point. There's so many facets of our lives as Black women where we have to be resilient,
right?
Whether we like it or not. And it's just, thinking about the work environment and how hostile that can be for us. And like you said, there were so many women that have just recently lost their jobs in the US because of those environments. And it's like, okay, so how do we pivot? And that hustle mentality that I think a lot of us carry with us as well into wanting to become those entrepreneurs. So I think it's really important that we're seeing more than just like, okay, these jobs and spaces and these entrepreneurs that we're filling, and we're like, okay, we're more than this.
Yeah. And I think too, for a long time, I was just happy to be in the room.
Yeah.
And I wanted to prove I should be in the room, and I wanted to show what I can do. And I would go over and above and create so much. I remember my mother sitting with me when I was young and telling me very quickly I was a Black woman. And if they ask me for 4, you give them 10. You give it to them in a way they can't even question your ability and worth. As great as that advice could be, it does create problems when you're constantly setting these, unsustainable ambitions and targets on yourself, on something that doesn't belong to you.
Right.
And when people ask me, what do you love most about Let's Grow BFF? It's mine, right? And everything I pour into it belongs to me. And I think that's really rewarding. So I think that's what Black women find inspirational about this space is that I can push myself in ways I know I can, and I can see the rewards and the fruits of my labor from it.
It's that ownership, isn't it?
100%.
Yeah. And it's really interesting. You were saying that your mum sat you down and said you need to give, if they asked you for 4, you give 10.
It's something that interesting, right? In retrospect, I'm now becoming a mother, and will I teach her that? And I'm trying to figure out a way that I would approach it with her where it'd be work hard, but also you belong there and you're supposed to be there. I think that was the second part I missed, is that you actually belong in that room. No matter how they make you feel, no matter how they treat you, no matter if you're the only one there, you belong there. And it was something I had to teach myself a little bit later in life. But I would definitely also tell her, work hard. Don't just give 4 if you just want to give 4. If you can give 10, go for it. But you belong there. And you don't have to give 10 to prove to people you belong there.
Absolutely. It's taking up that space.
Yeah.
I think a lot of women struggle to do that as well. Yeah. So you're designing a business that really loves Black women, and a space that they can kind of, grow as, Let's Grow BFF. Let's get into how Let's Grow BFF actually works and what you're offering in the traditional consultancy simply aren't.
Okay. I'm going to say one thing. I'm going to answer that.
Yeah.
But I'm also going to say, by supporting from an intersectionality, a Black population that is also female, indirectly, I am helping many different marginalized communities. Yes. And it's something that I like to explain, because when you help one of the most marginalized from an intersectionality, both women and as well being, of Black background, I am indirectly helping Black entrepreneurs. I'm indirectly helping female entrepreneurs. And I think that's sometimes what's forgotten. I think there's amazing programs, accelerators, incubators, grants, whatnot within the Black community, as well as the female community. Do I feel like Black women get lost in both? Yes.
Absolutely.
Right? So it's just bringing more attention to that focus. And by doing that, I'm helping the Black entrepreneurs and I'm helping the female entrepreneurs. And I always like to say that, because I think it's interesting is, well, don't you want to support all female founders? And what about all Black women? Absolutely. I do so much. I want to help both.
Yes.
Right? So that's one thing. And the programs, I'm going to get into how the consultancy is built with Black female founders in mind. Do women of color can step into different programs opportunity? Absolutely, right? And it is built as a program to still be inclusive in that standpoint, because as we both know sitting here, race is a social construct. Right? I mean, there's places in the world. I have a friend that is Colombian, Indonesian, and they call her Black. And she's, in other words, she would be brown. And, so there's so much. So I don't complicate it from that standpoint. But those that get identified as Black women through whatever we construct as a social construct do get the biggest challenges when it comes to driving, starting, and scaling their business. So that's always my disclaimer. With that said, I had the opportunity of interviewing so many Black female founders. If anyone is listening to this, and I was one of my many LinkedIn messages, if you were a Black female founder and you had founder on LinkedIn, I probably messaged you. I was like, can I chat with you? Can I have a conversation with you? And I just wanted to know about their journey. I wanted to know where the gaps were. I wanted to know what can impact and change the growth and future of their organization. So with that, it was not my original plan, but immediately I realized there's a foundation that has not been set for a few founders, a majority of founders actually. And I built my first workshop 8-week course, which is a really intense crash course into your business called Elevate Your Business. And in that, it is 90 minutes. I don't do cohorts more than 6 people, or I do it 1-to-1, and we completely dissect. And I say, I take your business apart and I put it back together. When working with the founders, I almost say, and I was wrapping up somebody today, you almost end up a CEO. You start off as somebody with this dream, ambition, and you've had this business, and you end being more commercially minded. You end a strategist. You understand your business from a business development standpoint and the opportunities. And that's what I love. I love to see the transformation of the founder from when I start. Some of them are like, burn it all down. And by the end, they're like, oh my God, I'm so excited about my business.
Love that.
Because they have no idea the beautiful gem they're sitting on. And I only work with businesses I believe in. So I'm coming in like, you can't give up. There's still work to do here. Let's change the course of this. So that's the Elevate Your Business course. I also offer what I would call fractional one-to-one commercial strategist business development support, like typical consultancies. But what I like to do is curate it for that specific founder. And I consider myself a generalist. I can do team building. I can do a P&L. I can do a go-to-market strategy. It's really about what your business needs. And I don't like to be as prescriptive because I want to make sure it benefits you. And I wanted to create a membership subscription, whatever we want to call it, where it can go up and down depending on the amount of support you need. So there might be months you're just light check-ins. Great. There might be months where you say, I want to franchise this, and it's a deeper dive. So it's giving the flexibility that you have the resources of essentially like a commercial CEO, COO, or even a head of commercial or a managing director, but not having that massive salary to pay or just pay somebody one-to-one. I think where I want to differ from a business career coach is I'm supporting you as a founder, but I'm supporting the business simultaneously. And I think sometimes business coaches are more so trying to get the founder up and running. They might give light touch on the business, but I'm very much like in the business. I've had some founders call me their co-founder because I'm that invested in seeing their business scale.
So going back to those early conversations with founders, what were some of the common themes or issues that would spring up in those conversations that needed addressing?
Not asking for help.
Right.
Not asking for help. If there's just trying to do it all. Hate social media, trying to do social media.
Yeah.
Hate their commercial strategy, trying to figure out how to do one. And that's what differs us from other founders, in my sense of interviewing all different types of founders, is the idea that we assume we should understand how to do it all. If we made the decision of being a founder and a business owner, we must be good at everything. And that is not the case.
Right.
Becoming apologetic that they didn't understand something. That's fine. Right? Many founders don't understand everything.
Yeah, we don't come into this knowing exactly how to run a business or be a CEO. It's a learning progress.
It's a learning progress, and be open to be vulnerable and say, I don't know. I need help. And reaching out for help and taking the resources of help.
Absolutely. And knowing where to find the resources of help as well.
Exactly.
Yes. So how do you make your services speak to the culture, emotional and financial realities of Black women?
Immediately within the discovery call and the onboarding, I think it's important to create a very safe space. I want to welcome them to come in and be very transparent and honest about the challenges they're facing. I think it's also important to acknowledge that the barriers they're facing are systemic and it's not them. And I don't necessarily think other consultancies would do that. So it's the process of validating the challenges and struggles and allowing them to come up with different scenarios and solutions through my support, working within this environment that's not built necessarily for them, and allowing them to use all the different resources. There's people that work with me that are on incubators and on accelerators and are in other programs. I'm not here to say you can only work with me. I want you to take all the resources available. I want to be an added beautiful layer to that. So I think there's a lot of flexibility with me and the environment I create and the community I'm trying to create with them all together across all industries, and not just a siloed hair, tech, wellness, but just putting everybody in one room.
It sounds very open source and collaborative.
Yeah, exactly.
Which is needed. We need that. Okay, so if you had access to $1 million tomorrow to reinvest in Black women-led businesses, how would you spend that?
I would probably start a fund.
Right.
I talk to so many businesses where I'm like, if I had some money, I would put it on this business and I would build it and we would be rich. It's amazing. But yeah, I would probably start a fund. I would build a fund that had a holistic 360 process, which it was vetting, preparing, funding, scaling, follow-up of execution, bring in all the resources needed. There are so many talented Black women across so many facets of business. If it is in creative, web design, financial, sales, that I would just build a dream team that would essentially go into every different type of business and make it unstoppable.
I love the sound of that.
Me too. I'm like, I need $1 million.
Yeah, to make this happen.
Exactly.
So what kind of future are you building, not just for Jo, but for all the Black women coming up behind you?
And it's kind of what I built in my vision statement. I want to change the disparity of this wealth gap. I want a Black female founded business to ring the bell, on the stock exchange and be publicly traded. What is happening? I don't want another, Ami Collet story. I want the minute one business is struggling, we all can step in and figure out how to change it. So yeah, I just want more action. I think there's a lot of conversation. I think there's a lot of data. I think there's a lot of opportunities, but it's the actions that I want to see change in the future, that it's just immediate work being done to change the environment.
More action, more equity.
More action, more equity. We should do a protest and outside, or action, more equity. That's what we need.
Okay, so if there's anyone listening today and they've got an idea in their notes, what's the one thing that you'd like them to take away from the conversation today?
I'm going to sound like a broken record because I've been saying this over and over again, but it's honestly, I want to drive this home. You are your first investor.
Right.
And I think ultimately, when I hear people want to better understand their business and vet it and build it and have the plan and all that, is when they're trying to get investment. But you are the first person to scrutinize your business. You're the first to bootstrap it. You're the first to take time out of your day to be here and get it done. So you're already investing in it. Time, money, away from friends and family. Do you believe in it?
Right.
If you believe in it wholeheartedly, you can then take it to market. And I think sometimes people aren't ready to really put everything in it. So you're almost not being your first investor, and then they want other people to believe in it. So my advice is turn the mirror around and look at yourself and pitch to yourself. And why I say that is, when it gets hard, you need to come back to your why.
Right.
You need to come back to what problem you're solving. You need to come back to your 3-year vision plan. Because if you don't have that at your core and foundation, you will give up, because it will get hard and you will get no's and people won't believe in your vision, but you have to believe in it wholeheartedly. So I think that would be my biggest takeaway.
I love that. And it's so true that, a lot of people are looking for that outside validation of their business rather than starting, if they believe it's a good idea, then it must be a good idea. But there's a lot of strength in actually, like you said, invest in yourself and turn that mirror around, which is great advice. I love that.
Yeah, thank you. When you think about like the very successful entrepreneurs, and you could tell they believed in it.
Right.
And because they believed in it, they didn't stop trying.
Very passion driven.
Yeah.
Yeah. Purpose. I always come back to purpose. It's like
purpose, passion, but it always comes back to why.
Yeah. Yeah.
The problem you are determined to solve.
Absolutely. Before I let you go, I always like to leave my listeners with a value. So a value that you hold for your professional life and a value that you hold for your personal life. So if we start with your professional life.
Integrity.
Good word. Yeah.
Integrity. I have to believe in what I'm doing. And I think anytime I've had to question my integrity, if it is, with employees or professionally or working with partnerships, it never sits right with me. So it's very, when I've done like value-driven exercises with executive coach, whatever, the first thing that comes up to me, once integrity starts to get questioned, I can't give my all into something.
And for your personal life?
Oh, that's a good one. For my personal life, I would say, the word I would say is forgiveness. But, I think it would be kind.
Right.
I think it's being kind to myself. It's being kind to people around me. Because you just don't know what people are battling or what's going on. But I think more recently, it's really been learning to be kind to myself. So I would say be kind.
I like that. That's a nice note to leave us on. Be kind, be kind.
But especially to yourself.
Yes, absolutely.
Yes.
And if people want to follow your journey, where can they find you?
Yes, I am Who is Jo Wong on TikTok and Instagram. So Who is JOWONG. And on LinkedIn, you can find me at Jo Wong, JOWONG.
Jo, thank you for taking the time out and sharing your nuggets of wisdom.
It was my pleasure.
I've really enjoyed it. And guys, if you want to follow the Black Circles journey, we're also on TikTok, Instagram, under the Black Circle Podcast, and YouTube, the Black Circle Podcast. Don't forget to like, follow, subscribe. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.